Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Daily Wisdom Words podcast. I'm your co-host, Neil Trevi.
Hello, I am your co-host, Rini O'Day. We want to give you a very warm welcome to our latest episode.
Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific time as we talk to guests who have stories, advice, and life hacks, all of which take you one step closer to that feeling of hope.
Today, we welcome author of many books, Sanjay Singhal. Hi, Sanjay.
Hey, Sanjay.
Hi.
Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Did I butcher your last name?
No, you did not. I have to say that I can't say it correctly, so please don't feel bad. So Singhal is perfectly fine. Yeah.
You're a sweetheart. Uh-oh. Honey, you're in trouble. There's a sweetheart on camera. So you're in Michigan?
No, I am in northern Illinois, right the Illinois-Wisconsin border. I used to live in Michigan for a time, and a lot of my stories are set in northern Michigan.
That's why I thought, because I read a lot about the lake and the beautiful there.
Thank you.
And you also visited all over the world, right? I mean, there were these list of countries. I was reading your biography on Goodreads, and it's like, oh, you've been here and you've been here, and like several countries that you've visited.
I have a biography on Goodreads?
Yeah.
Oh,
well, a short author biography. Yeah, like Sanjay Singhal is a writer. Yeah, you do.
Oh, I've got to figure that whole thing out because it's so confusing. But okay, yes. Well, I lived in France for a time, and I've lived in Italy, and traveled quite a bit, and all of that has informed a lot of my writing and my stories. And as you can see, a lot of these went into the book. Maureen, I love your cat. It's beautiful.
That's a dog.
That's a dog? Oh my God. The screen is so small, I couldn't tell it. It looked like a little...
That's my little Chihuahua, Kona.
Oh.
She's our mascot.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
She's a sweetie. You can write. Oh my gosh.
And you mentioned that about, being all over and shaping a lot of your writing and your influences. So tell us about that, about a little bit about that background. How did you get started writing, and when did you get started writing as well?
Well, first, thank you so much. I'm so thrilled that you guys took the time to read my book, and
it was fabulous.
And it's always nerve-wracking sending it out to a complete stranger who knows nothing about me or my background or what put this book together. So thank you. I so appreciate it. And so in terms of my history as a writer, I always enjoyed writing essays and papers in school. It was never a chore for me. I always enjoyed it. And in fact, one of the stories in this book about falling water grew out of a term paper I wrote in, I think, sophomore or junior year in high school. And I always was recognized for being a good writer. And obviously my professional life, I'm an architect and an interior designer. And so that really got put on the back burner as I went into my career field. And about 13 years ago. Ooh, time flies when you're happy.
It does,
right? Right.
I was 13 years ago. I was in a very serious traffic accident. My truck on December 22nd, 2008, hit black ice at 70 miles an hour and crashed into a concrete retaining wall. And I was not harmed. I was not hurt at all. I stepped out of the truck and walked away. But that night, I was supposed to fly to California to see my mother and my family for Christmas. And I got to the plane, sat down, and I took out my journal and started writing. And I never stopped. I just get all of a sudden all these words just poured out of me, and people started to say, you should publish this. You should publish this. And I said, well, I don't even know what do I write about? And they said, write about your life, write about your experiences. And that's what I started doing. And I think because my training professionally as an architect and as a designer is to look at things and look behind things or at the construction of things, translating that into words is almost second nature to me, because I could look at, for example, I could hold up, a roll of tape, and for most of us, it's a roll of tape. But when you start to look at how it's constructed and what it's made of, and the pieces, and then you can start to build a story around that. And as I mentioned in my book, a lot of the fictional stories are literally taken from a chance word or phrase and built from there.
Wow.
So, it's, for me, I guess you could say it's an architectural process. I start with a piece and then just build onto it like that from there.
That's a gift. That's a gift.
That is a gift. Yeah.
I tease my husband all the time. When I open the refrigerator, I see eggs, milk, and cheese. When he opens it, he sees an omelet. He likes to cook.
Yeah.
I don't. So, it's a gift,
It is.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
So, now, okay, so 13 years ago, you sit down and the universe handed you a gift because you are an incredible writer. I fell in love with Stories I Never Told You. Because you've written a few books, where did that come from?
Stories I Never Told You is very personal. It very sadly, my best friend Joshua died in 2015 of a drug overdose. And he was probably like the closest friend I ever had. And that loss. You talk a lot about him in the book. And I was going to ask you about that. And actually, when I was writing and we were becoming friends, our friendship was such that everything I wrote, I would send to him first. And he would read it and then call and go. He would critique. He was almost like a beta reader in a way that we call them nowadays, but he would go through it very carefully. He was a brilliant mind. And we would go through all of the stories and the construction and the pacing and the narrative. And then, of course, he would offer his own ideas, which I would completely ignore. And then we'd come back to it and so on and so forth. So these are all the stories that I never told him. These were all written after he died. And the journey of these stories is that through them is how I was able to move through that grief and to process through that grief and come to a place of resolution, which is why, and what I've told other people who've read the book, the last story, which I know you've both read, The Great Bear and how he got that way, is that
made me cry.
Made me
cry.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
And one of the reasons I was very excited to do this interview with both of you today is Josh's birthday. He would have been 46.
Really?
Yes. So
happy birthday, Josh!
Happy birthday, Joshua. Wherever he's listening and watching you now.
And I know he is. I know he is.
Yeah. Absolutely. Energy. Yeah. He's right here. He's energy.
Yeah.
Good energy.
So, and resulting in this great interview, right? This great opportunity that we all have to interact. So you talked about the book and, being as a tribute, part catharsis and all that. How do you divide how much of it is real and fictional? Or was it fictional? How fictional was it? Where does that bound? Because to us, when we were reading it, it was just mind-blowingly, hauntingly beautiful. And that left both of us wondering, like, wow, how much of this must be, because you said it was inspired by your friend and your various experiences. So where did you draw that balance, that line of fiction versus real?
Well, in all honesty, I didn't all of this came out of my diary. The night that I learned Josh had died, I started putting things into my diary because I had to get it. I couldn't keep it inside. I had to get it out of my system, and I just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. And after about 3.5 years or so, when I was starting to get more to a place of acceptance and understanding, I showed it to a very dear friend of mine who is very good and an excellent writer herself. And she said, this would make a great book, but you need to cut it down. I said, okay. And she said, how many words is this? And I said, I did a computer, the word count thing on the computer. And it was 240,000 words. And she said, if you publish this, you really need to cut it down to about 100,000. And I said, that's a lot of cutting. And what I realized is that there were pieces of reflection, travel dialogues, short stories, real life encounters or experiences. And so I literally pulled all of that out of the diary. So if you look at the dates that are in the book, every story has a date, and that's the date when it was first written. And it progressed chronologically.
Yeah, it goes over time.
Yeah,
And so all of those are all the stories that I wrote, and those are the dates that I began writing them. So that's why I call it in the printed copy, I think I sent you the PDF, which is it does show that it's I call it a portmanteau, because it's not just a collection of stories, it's a collection of thoughts and ideas and conversations and fiction and nonfiction all pulled together.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, because my mind is like an elephant's. I asked you the name of a story that I want to talk about. What was the name of that? Access. Oh my God. Where did that come from? First of all, that was my favorite of the whole book. I don't know why.
Thank you.
I don't know why. I don't.
When she read it, she had, I think, called me or texted me and said, that's the first story you got to read. Yeah. And she started reading it to me over the phone. She's like, you're not going to believe how amazing this guy is, how good of a writer he is, and how good of a story this is. Like, I remember being so excited over it. And then, of course, I read it myself, and I'm like, okay, I see the brilliance here. So.
Well, Neil hit the nail on the head when he said it was hauntingly beautiful. That story haunts me. I don't know why, because it's so beautiful. But
so Access is a fictional story. It was inspired by real events, and I really did go to an art show with some clients, and I really did see a young man in a wheelchair looking at a display of video screens, and something lodged in my head, what is this young man looking at? What is he watching? What is he thinking? And the story just grew from there. If I were to interact with this man, what would I say to him? What would he say to me?
Right.
How would his life make a difference in mine? How would my life make a difference in his? And it was a way for me to bring in my love of literature that I read and cherished since childhood. And there are several references in the story. Obviously, Pooh Sticks from Winnie the Pooh, and Sorrow Rides a Fast Horse, which is one of my favorite stories.
You know what? I think that I get depression. Like it comes from a place of depression. That's why I'm like, this is amazing, because it's coming from a place of depression, right?
Oh, absolutely. And if I don't recall the date that I wrote that, but it was September of 2016, I think. And I was really struggling. I was really struggling because it had only been a year, and I was really in a bad place. and out of that darkness grew that story. And what's interesting is that there's another story shortly after in the book, and I'm trying to think of what it was called. Oh boy. It's the... Hey, hold on just a sec. I've got the book right here.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want you to hold it up.
Yeah. Here we go. No, that's not it. Dum, 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 dum.
I think I know which one you're talking about, but because I can't remember names, you like.
Well, it's here we go. Hunger. So
Hunger.
Okay.
the story, actually both of those happened the same evening.
Really?
Both those encounters, yes.
Whoa.
The encounter with the young man in the wheelchair at the art gallery, and then the encounter with the homeless young man at the train
Yeah.
station. Those actually happened the same night.
And that train.
Wow.
Gonna make me cry. Stop it. Make me cry.
Sorry. I cried when I wrote it. I cried when I wrote it.
But that means that getting emotional about it. I think it speaks volumes of just how effectively you write. Because I mean, imagine if we read it and we become emotional. I mean, that just, like I said, it just speaks of the language and your vivid usage of words, and it's just everything together. It's not just good stories, but it's your storytelling. And the way you tell it is what I really admired the most. It was like create such a vivid picture in my. That's what I always look at when I look for a good fiction writer or semi-fiction, or I always look for, can I picture this in my mind? And if I can, I know, okay, then the writer is brilliant, because the words are that effective that I can see it playing like a almost like a movie in my mind. And that's definitely happened with so many of your stories as I was reading them. So
thank you so much. Thank you. Thank
That
you.
was a perfect analogy, Neil, because I was picturing that train, the station. It was all going like I was there, and and it's really funny because you at the beginning of the book you talk about meeting a friend in I think it's Mission Viejo, which is above Laguna Niguel.
Yes.
And you're holding it. Okay, I have family that lives in Laguna Niguel, so I know what you're talking about.
So you know that area, yes.
I know that area, and if you just look like above where all the houses are, I can picture that picture. That's how, yeah. So talk about descriptive. Yeah. I was there. But no, really, seriously, you are a phenomenal writer. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What was your favorite story?
My favorite? It's the last one. The Great Bear and how he got that way. Yeah. And even now when I read it, I get very emotional.
Yeah, it made me cry.
And it was very hard to, it wasn't hard to write. It just flowed right out of my pen. Right. But reading it again, because it is, it's what the book is about. It's, death is not.
And
there's a better place waiting for all of us.
Yeah. So I was going to ask, like, you mentioned like how in writing many of these stories you were like in a very dark place. Would you say that like writing is a form, not just, this book especially, but in general, a form of catharsis for you? Like, did that help you like come to terms with the events before you wrote the book?
I'm not quite sure.
Like, was writing those stories out, did it help you come to terms with some of the sadness that you were feeling? Obviously, when you experience the death of a loved one, that never goes away completely. Obviously, that's true for all of us. It always hurts in some shape or fashion, especially when we remember them. But was the writing the book sort of a form of catharsis for you, letting it all out?
Oh, yes, yes, absolutely.
Did that help a little bit?
Yes, because I had to get it out of my system there, and there was no other way to do it. And we all process grief differently, and there were moments where I was terrified of becoming of self-abusive behavior, drinking or whatever, because that does happen. People go through a traumatic episode and become addicted to something, and I did not want to do that. So this was a way for me to just get it out of my, to get it out on paper and get it out of my head.
When you became addicted to writing.
Yes, I did. Yes,
That's
I did.
A good addiction. That's a good addiction.
Yeah.
That's a good way to describe that. Yes.
Yes. So Joshua, obviously it affected your mental health. Did you seek help, or was it writing?
Yes, I did. I actually met with a pastor for about 6 months, and had private counseling with him. A lot of Protestant churches, and I think this is nationwide, Lutheran, Episcopal, and I believe Methodist, have a program called Stephen's Ministry. And it's designed it's faith-based counseling for anyone. You don't have to be a member of their church. And it's available to someone who's experienced a loss or trauma in their lives and needs some faith-based assistance, counseling, prayer. And he was a wonderful pastor, very patient, and it really helped. It really helped to have that.
Good.
And
Good.
I met with him for and it's not intended to be permanent, because it is offered at no charge. And so I met with him for about 6 months, and it was very beneficial to have that.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Because, when I lost my mother, it was awful.
Yeah.
So I got help. But you're not just meant to go on like nothing happened.
Exactly.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to get it out there.
Have to get help. Yeah.
I just wish I had the talent of writing that like you do.
That's another thing. It's like you mentioned, like how some of it is second nature because of your profession as you dissect it like an architect. But what about, like, I just feel your choice of words and the language you use. I mean, obviously not literal language as in English, but just the way you frame it. Does that all come from, seeing things a different perspective, or is it like an inborn? Because I was just amazed. Like, obviously they're good writers, and we all have our various techniques of, how to write, getting the inspiration. But your choice of words and all that was just, off the charts.
He has a designer's eye. He
Right.
said he was interior design. He has a designer's eye.
Yeah.
Because you were very descriptive in your,
very much. Yeah.
stories.
Yeah.
And thank you. I take very, I do my own editing. So the entire editing of the book was done by me. Yes. But what I've learned is that, one can say things in any number of words. We could take the sentence, "The woman walked down the street," and we can expand that and add to it so that the reader is carried along with her and walking beside her. And it's a hot day in New York, and she's in Manhattan, and she's wearing a black cocktail dress with little white polka dots and a beautiful black hat. And suddenly we're in this picture. And so for me, crafting that story, it takes a lot of work. It's getting the words down on paper is one thing, making them into a story is another. And I would venture to say I spent as much time editing as I did writing. But the way I write is, for me, it is a great deal of work, but it's my voice. My 2 or 3 other books before this, if you were to read those, you would see how the voice has progressed and become more refined, for lack of a better word, and more clearer. So that if I want to tell a story, I'm not using as many words.
Right.
And in editing your own work, I will say this for anyone who wants to be a writer or is a writer, and I tell this to people that I help with writing. They'll give me a story of, say, 1,000 words, and I'll say, okay, now write that same story in 500 words. And they just go white as a sheet, and they say, I can't do that. And I look at them and I say, yes. I said, if I can do it, if I can take 240,000 words and cut it down to 60,000 words, you can do it too.
Right. Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. That's a challenge. So, can you tell us about your other 2 books that you wrote?
Well,
that
sure.
I will be reading when I.
Yes, they're all available online. Actually, the book I published just before this one is called Tales of the Night Watchman. And it's a collection of supernatural, horror, fiction, nonfiction. There are some true stories in there because I've had a few run-ins with a few ghostly figures.
Okay.
But there's some wonderful fictional works in there. And one of my favorites is a story that reads the same way forward and backwards.
What?
Really?
Yes.
What's that called? What's that called?
Well, it's not an anagram, but
anagram.
It's written so that it's the same story told forward and told backwards.
Amazing.
Okay.
And
buy
it was
that book right after this interview. We got to buy that book now. Because now you've got me like, oh, I have to read that.
And I'm really proud of that. It's called, and the story in that book is called The Most Beautiful Car in the World.
Oh.
And
the most beautiful car. Okay.
Yes. And it's inspired by my father's car that he left me when he died. So that's part of that plays in.
What kind of car was that?
It was an 83 Jaguar XJ6.
Oh, wow. I can see.
Wow.
Nice. I got a Ford Pinto. No.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding.
Absolutely one of the last hand-built Jaguars. Absolutely beautiful. Probably the most flawless I've seen. And then another book I recently published was a cookbook. So it's also available online, and it's called What Tastes Good. And it's a cookbook for people. In fact, I had to dig it off the shelf because I'm doing a cheesecake for Thanksgiving. And
can you hold it up? Do you have your books? Can you hold it up?
I'll be right. Let me grab it here.
Perfect. Cheesecake. Now I want cheesecake for lunch.
Yeah, I know, right? Mouth starts watering off.
My husband makes a mean cheesecake. It bites you.
Really?
No.
No,
yes.
All right, here we are. So this is, here we go. Tales of the Night Watchman.
Oh, wow.
And then this is my cookbook called What Tastes Good.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's a pie, right? Is that a pie on the front?
No, it's a quiche.
Oh, a quiche.
I make very good quiche, let me tell you. I don't mean to brag.
What time? We can be there for lunch.
You're coming over anytime. And then this is another.
Feel up.
I was kind of curious what that would look like because we got it in PDF. Oh, wow.
So that's
gorgeous.
Thank you. So this is the Undiscovered Country. And that's my photograph that I took.
Oh, is there anything you can't do?
There's lots I can't do. Trust me.
Not believing it.
Trust me. There's lots I can't do.
No,
I cannot build a model to save my life, and I cannot do landscaping. It's.
That's so funny because here you are, an architect, and you can't build a model.
I know. Do you know? Yeah, it's a long story.
It's a long story.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
My professors would say to me, I don't care how you do it, but show up with the model. And I'd look at them and I'd say, I can't build a model. And and they'd say, we didn't tell you to build a model. We said, bring a model.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And I got so I did. I brought a model.
Yeah. Why not? Somebody else can do it. I mean,
Exactly.
there are a lot of people out there that can build models.
And that's yes. And here's the thing. I firmly believe everybody has something they can do. And they're going to be, no matter where you go in your life, you're going to meet people who do things you can't. And you can do one of two things. You can be jealous of that person, or you can look at that person and say, hey, this person does something I can't do. And because I can't do that, I'm going to appreciate this person more and learn more and value them more, because they do have a gift I don't possess. And that's fine.
Absolutely. Then we found yours.
So, yeah. So what's that? Any more like in the pipeline? What's next? What
yes,
kind of
yes.
books and stuff?
There's a lot coming out. I'm working on a new book now, and it hopefully will be ready January, February-ish, and this is it's complete fiction. It's complete fiction, but it's about a young Anglo-Indian architect.
Where did you get that idea? Where did that come from?
I know.
Who has a thriving architectural practice that takes him across the country to do all these commissions, and he has a butler. And the butler
Does he buttle?
Yes, he buttles. Yes, like
the
water.
The butler buttles.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. And his butler accompanies him, butler valet, and his butler has a very strange hobby. And everywhere that this young, impressionable architect goes, his butler, of course, comes along and on his afternoon out goes looking for Bigfoot.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I, for some reason, thought he's going to bring Bigfoot because that's where everybody sees Bigfoot is in Wisconsin and Michigan and all that.
Oh yeah.
That was crazy in my head back there.
I love it. And so
I love
hero
Bigfoot. I love Bigfoot.
Has to go rescue him and save him from the clutches of these things. And so it's P.G. Wodehouse comes to America and goes looking for Bigfoot. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I love it. Wow. Do you guys remember that show that was on a few years ago, Finding Bigfoot?
Yes.
And there were
yeah.
I would binge watch that show. I loved it so much.
I have friends who were on that show. As a
really?
Yeah.
Really? No way. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
cool.
they got a real kick out of it. They had a lot of fun. Yeah.
Oh, I bet they did. They did. Because we're still looking for them. And maybe your valet will find them.
And trust me, he finds a lot of crazy stuff. Let me show you. Yes, and part of the story is the valet also, and of course our hero, this young impressionable architect, is also hunting for a wife. So while he's looking for ladies, his valet is looking for Bigfoot, and sometimes things get a little. Sometimes the wires get a little bit crossed. So
you're cracking me up. You're cracking me up. So what's the name of the story or the book?
I don't know yet. There's a lot of titles that I'm playing around with. I haven't figured that out yet, but I'm having so much fun writing it. It's just writing itself. And someone said, Sanjay, you can't have an architect with a butler in the year 2021. It's really anachronistic.
Sure, you can.
I said, absolutely. I can do whatever
you want.
Anything you want.
Yeah. So I said, it's complete fiction. None of this is real. It's fiction. I can make, if we can write a fictional book about, weird aliens on Saturn,
I know. Yeah.
I can have an architect who has a butler who looks for Bigfoot.
You can have whatever you want.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. As long as it entertains people, put it out there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm buying it. I'm buying
All right.
it.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Sanjay, I am so glad we got to talk to you. You have been an incredible joy to have on. Really.
Oh, thank you.
Like,
this has been fun.
Please buy his book, people. Buy all of them. But the stories
we'll
I
be
never
leaving
told you.
the links. Yeah, we'll definitely leave the links in the description for all our audience members.
And the cookbook.
Hopefully,
I'm getting the cookbook next.
Please do.
Yeah.
And could I ask you guys, since you liked the book so much, would you mind leaving a review on Amazon?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Definitely.
100%.
Yeah.
And we only charge $25,000.
Yeah. That's it.
No. That's from Bigfoot.
Okay. I'll have Bigfoot send you a check. How's that?
When you find Bigfoot, you have him send us a check.
Okay. Yeah. I'll let him.
Absolutely. We would love. We would be
thrilled. We would be
honored too. We really would. Honored too.
I'm so thrilled that you've both taken the time to read this book and to share your thoughts. This means so much to me. I'm so thrilled.
Yeah. I just loved it. I mean, it's going to be one of those I'll have in my collection to read again and again.
Yeah.
You know, when you kind of can't find anything to read and you go back to an old favorite. Stories I never told you is going to be that.
You know what I'd really like to do for both of you, please, since you've both been so kind and so generous. I know I just sent you the PDF, through the email, but I would really like to send you both a signed copy as a thank you. Yes, I would. I mean, if you wouldn't mind sending me an email with your addresses, I'll send those out this week.
We would. We're so honored that you. Wow.
Well, you gotta make me cry.
Thank you so much.
Oh God, no, seriously, you guys.
I
would be honored to have a signed copy from you.
It would be front and center on my bookshelf if you did it.
One of my favorite books I've ever read.
I'm so touched and so deep. That means really mean. And I don't know if I mentioned this to you or not. In the PDF that I sent you, did it have the artwork in it?
I don't think so. I don't remember seeing any. Yeah.
Okay, because it was such a long time ago. But just in the copy that I send you, all of the photographs and the artwork is.
You took.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
Thank you. Thank you.
So, for example, the story that is set in Rome about the girl whose name I have not. All of there's several illustrations, and I'll hold this one up. I don't know if you can see that clearly.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
All of the illustrations are mine as well. So.
See, I told you. What can't you do?
Yeah.
I can't do models.
You're so creative. That's true. You can't. But you are amazingly creative. So that.
Yeah. That's.
I'm so glad.
You're like the complete writer, like illustrator,
we got to talk to you.
Photographer, and you're like the complete literature artist, whatever. Like could give you so many tags at the end, but it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I want everyone to buy this book because they will not regret it. They won't.
Yeah.
It will be on their coffee table or in the bookshop or wherever forever for a long time. So until the next great one comes out from you. Then we'll just add. To them, so.
The whole collection of it, right?
Well, Sanjay, like I said, such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Finally, we got to meet you.
Yes.
And I have to say, you are way above what I ever thought. Because you never know what you're going to get when you meet somebody. You blew my expectations out of the water.
Thank you so much.
Because we got in your mind in these stories, because you are so descriptive. And now I can see where they came from. They came from this compassionate, talented, caring, loving man. So
thank you.
I think we'll close on that because I'm going to start crying.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And please
We'll
let me
be in
know.
touch.
Yes,
We
please.
will be
We'll
in
be in
touch
touch.
for sure. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, you guys. All right.
Thank
Have
you,
a great day.
Sanjay.
Thank you,
Okay.
You
Sanjay.
too.
Okay.
Take care.
You too. Have a
Bye-bye.
good day.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. And thank you, Sanjay, for coming on this week.
Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at all the links listed in the description. And don't forget to hit like on this video and subscribe to our channel so you'll never miss an episode. And if you want to show us a little extra love, we also have a link for donations. Thank you, everyone, once again, and we will see you right here next week at 9 a.m. Pacific time.
Thank
Goodbye.
you. Bye.